Hello everyone, it's been a while since we've seen each other. Health-wise, I haven't been doing super well recently, and besides I'm in the middle of my bachelor project, so that's why I didn't have so much time to paint and therefore not to film. Despite that, I really try to do something nice for myself on a regular basis. For me that means, for example, reading in bed for a few hours on the weekend in the morning, or just laying in the bathtub. Or on this day I just painted in the middle of the day for 1.5 hours on the balcony, even though I had a pretty full day, but sometimes I have to force myself to do such things for myself for my own good. I have intentionally used only thick brushes for this painting as a challenge, so that I hopefully learn to not always dwell so much on details and also sometimes to paint a little looser and with bigger shapes rather than precise details. However, you will see that I still try to work quite precisely in between with the brushes. It's hard to break habits. While I'm painting, I thought I'm going to tell you a little bit about a book I recently read and which I really enjoyed. You might have already heard about it. It's called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I quickly wanted to put out a trigger warning beforehand because the book is dealing with depression and suicide, and I don't want to give away any spoilers or something. Everything I'm saying can also be found on the back of the book or literally in the first sentence of the book. So yeah, still, if you don't want to hear any of it, just mute the audio. So the book. It's about a woman, Nora, who decided to attempt suicide, but instead of instantly dying, she ends up in the Midnight Library, which is some kind of a limbo between life and death. And this library contains books of all her different potential lives had she made different choices in her past. So even small decisions could have led to different versions of her life. And there in that library is a book about really every version of that. And in that library, she is given the chance to undo her regrets and try out each of the other life had she made different life choices. And now I am going to quote a review I've read on this book. This is an incredible read for anyone that has ever felt lost in life, pondering the what-ifs and feeling regret in any degree, big or small. The concept of a midnight library was an extremely digestible way to introduce the multiverse while changing our perspective on life in general. This is a great read for learning how to deeply appreciate life and living in the present, because it's all about perspective. Yeah, and I really enjoyed that book. Yes, it was heavy at times and really sad, but at the end of the day, it is a very life-affirming book, and I think we all ponder the what-ifs or are caught in some kind of regret about past choices or something. So yeah, maybe you're interested too. If not, that's also okay. And yeah, let's get back to painting. Look what came in the mail today. If you've seen my latest video, you know that I just made thank you cards for my future shop and they turned out very great. Oh, and speaking of the shop, of course I'm going to do little quick updates on the process of building the shop in my art vlogs, but I am following the whole entire process, think of all the ups and downs of the entire process in a separate video, which is coming out as soon as my shop goes live, I think. And I'm aiming to open the shop at the beginning of next year after my bachelor project is finally finished. Okay, after I ordered the thank you cards, I also wanted to make bookmarks to offer in my shop because I think it's something else and I really thought that this motif is also really suitable for a bookmark. I don't know, I really like it, and I really like that it's two-sided, so you can kind of decide which motif you want to see up front. Yeah, I'm really content how they turn out. Look. I also rewatched my favorite seasons of American Horror Story recently, and honestly what it feels like I have seen them 100,000 times, but I enjoy that from time to time, so in between I always made little drawings of cool scenes or frames this time, so now it's like a little storyboard in my sketchbook. And also, can we please agree that the intro of Apocalypse is the best of all of them? I mean, I love all the intros, but I think Apocalypse is the best of all. And here are some snippets of it. Let's see if there will be any copyright issues, I really don't know. Also, this old sketchbook fell into my hand somehow and I took a look in it and I really liked that one. I have only 2 pages in here, but I think they are pretty cool. I mean, this gold shimmer is quite nice. And this says, "A pretty face, electric soul." That's a quote by a Lana Del Rey song, I think. Yeah, they are from 2018. I completely forgot about them. I'm about to pick up some film negatives of a film roll I had in my camera since March till the end of August, I think, so quite a long time, and I really couldn't remember what's on that film roll, so as I always am, I was extremely excited to get my photos back, and surprisingly I really like a lot of the photos very much. Because I couldn't remember exactly what's on that film roll, I actually thought that there isn't anything super special on it, but I took a lot of photos of friends, of random things that caught my eye, as I always do. As I always say, I don't know a lot about photography, I just capture things that, yeah, catch my eye in some way. Yeah, but I'm really happy that they turn out so beautiful. And now I'm going to pick the negatives up and sort them afterwards in my dedicated folder for all of my negatives. And I think I'm going to show you my favorite photos of this row. am back home. The heat wave's just over and I already had to wear 4 layers. I am not ready, but I adopted another monstera, which I am going to repot immediately because she looks a little bit like she has suffered. So I hope she will be feeling better afterwards and living with me now. This is her, and I think she's much better now. I repotted her, I cleaned her leaves, and yeah, I hope she will recover because, as you can see, here are a few cuts and pieces ripped off. Here she's getting a little bit yellow, so we'll see and hope the best, but I think she'll be fine. I mean, she's getting a new leaf. Okay, it's a Saturday night in Berlin and we have still pretty early in the evening, but this is what I prefer to do. Something to draw, some chocolate pudding and Netflix. Beautiful ambience. Perfect. Greetings from your probably youngest granny in town. It is a really gray and rainy Saturday and I already ran a few errands and stopped by a flea market because I was hoping to find some interesting objects, because in a month or so my friend Emma is going to help me to shoot some product photos of my self-made jewelry for my shop. You might have seen it in my latest video. Yeah, and I think to make the photos more interesting, the use of a beautiful coffee cup or glass or an interesting piece of fabric as a surface to lay the jewelry on could be very cool, but I didn't really find anything except for one cup. But I'm pretty happy about this find because it's kitschy, but I think the colors go pretty well with a lot of the colors of my necklaces. But I have to say, I went a couple of times to that flea market, and every time I go there, I'm always reminded why I don't like going there. I mean, first of all, I hate it when people stare at me when I'm looking at things. I can't. And this leads to me just going away because I really don't like it. And also they always try to talk to you. I don't know, I always think like, if I have a question, I'll ask you. And they don't do it in a friendly way. It's no, just no. And also this flea market is, how do I describe it? Okay, the sellers, it's pretty obvious that the sellers buy boxes of deceased people's stuff, and it feels like the sellers don't even know what's in those boxes. They just put them in place, open them, and that's it. And in those boxes are a lot of broken things. Everything in there is piled up. It's very uncomfortable to go through it because you really have to dig into it. And also it's so obvious that when you ask them how much they want to have for an item, they see that item for the first time and just come up with an oftentimes really unreasonable number. When I'm talking about it, it's so weird there. And if you know me on some level, it might surprise you that I don't have that much of a problem to negotiate prices on a flea market because I think it belongs to that experience somehow, but not a good experience there. And I was also quite picky. I saw some objects that made me think, okay, that might work, but I don't want anything that I will just use for those photos. I want to use it afterwards too. I really don't want to have any stuff lay around I am not using because it's so cluttering and I already have a really small apartment. I can't stand that. So it's important to me that it's not for a single use or something. So I'm quite happy with that tea or coffee cup because I can obviously use it afterwards too, and I really like it. So at least it was worth it. So if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for being here with me, and I hope you are doing very well. If you enjoyed the video and haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, I hope to see you around, and goodbye.